Hello again, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you an update on my Studio A810. Um, you see, what you know, what you don't know, you just don't know. In life, that's just how it is. What you don't know, you just don't know. And I must admit, I do not know this Studio A810. This is a total different animal than the ones than the Revox and Revox PR99, A77 and B77 that I'm used to working on. This thing is a total different animal, I'm telling you. um, so I do not know this deck, and this is my very first one. It's actually the first one I've ever seen, I've ever touched, I've ever listened to, but this one is mine. So, like I said in my earlier videos, I just wanted to um, do some stuff to it that make it um, take it back to a tip-top shape. So, after recapping the deck, I proceeded to turn it on. Right. So, what happened is that I have a down here. I have my sync core. My Syncor variable isolation transformer, and here I also have a PR99. So what happened is that I turned on the deck. No, before I turn on the deck, I run it through my Syncor, because the idea was for me to just turn it up slowly, just in case something go wrong. The Syncor would protect it. So when I turned on the deck, the Syncor would trip. So I'm like, wait, what's going on here? So the Syncor has a feature where you can set the current to trip at certain value. So I pump it up to, at first, after I tripped the first time, I was wondering why would it just trip the thing when I just plugged it in my PR99 and it would work. So I plugged the PR99 into the Syncor, and sure enough, the PR99 worked fine. Everything's fine. So I'm like, why is the studio tripping? So I think, this thing is drawing a lot of current before, when you turn it on. So I went ahead and I bump up the trip value to about 2 amps on the Syncor. Turn on back the studio, and it tripped it again. So I'm like, what the hell? Why is it tripping? So I then slowly turn up the voltage on the Syncor, and then as I turn it up, I start watching to see if the deck would trip it. Right. So I turn it all the way up until I get to 120 volts, and it stayed there, and the deck was on. The VU meters were on and everything, but the capstan motor would not turn. So I'm like, what is happening? So I turn it off, turn off the deck, turn it back on, and it trips it. Trip the Syncor again. So I'm thinking, okay, so what I did, I slowly turn up the Syncor back to 120 while this was on, right? So it stayed on, and so I proceeded to um to check for supply voltages. So you can um, get the supply voltage from right here. So what I did, I checked the supply voltages, and per the manual, of course, and all the voltages were fine. So I'm wondering why the voltages are fine and the motor would not spin. So I figure the power supply is fine, so something else. So this is a capstan motor, and the capstan motor is connected to the capstan PC board right here through these wires here. So I measured here, and I was getting 145 volts from here, right? So this is a two-pole motor. The deck is 4 speeds, so it has a two-pole motor. So I'm supposed to get 140 to 145 volts from here. Voltage were fine. Couldn't figure it out. What happening? So I pulled off the capstan PC board again, and I look, check it out, check it. Pull the caps, pull the rectifier, tested everything on the board. The board was solid, it was good. Nothing is wrong with the board. So that's when I turned to tapeheads.net. That's a go-to place for reel-to-reel enthusiasts who want to get some expert opinion and advice on reel-to-reel deck servicing. So I turned there and I posted and I tell them what happened. The deck was working properly before I recapped it. I recapped everything. I didn't replace the motor run capacitors and some capacitors in the power supply because they are oil filled and they were good. No need to change them. So I told them what happened, that give them my story. So one expert says to me, make sure that if you take off the heatsink, make sure that you put the wafers back on it, the heatsink wafer, right, back on it. Because what happened was, after I take this down and I replaced it, one of the wafers, I don't know where it went. It just dropped somewhere. I couldn't find it. So I just there are 2 transistors on the heatsink, Q1 and Q2, right behind here. So these little wafers, it's thin little wafer. This is supposed to go behind the transistor attached, and then attached to the heatsink. So I couldn't find one, so I put it back. I put it back without that one. So the next time I turn on the deck, the motor start to hum. This start to hum. So I immediately turned it off. Right? So the expert person on tapehead.net says to me, listen, make sure if you remove that heatsink or the transistor, make sure you put back the wafers behind there, because that could cause a lot of problem. It could cause you could short out the transistor right on the heatsink, and then it would blow the fuses and all that. Right. So in the meantime, luckily no fuse were blown. No fuse were blown. They have fuse back here and fuse back here and here, and no fuse was blown. So I'm in good shape. So luckily there's a supply place not too far from me. So I called them and asked them if they have this wafer thing, and they said yes. So I went down and I get a few of them. Came back. Take this down again. Put back the wafer with heatsink compound behind it. Put everything back. So for the big test, I turn on the deck, and no more humming. Deck was fine. No more hum. All right, I'm in good shape going, but the motor still wouldn't turn. So I was reading the post in the on my thread in tapebed.net. One person says to me, you have to load a tape on the deck, right? For and then the tension arm would move up, so there's tension there, and it would trigger the deck and trigger the capstan motor to spin. Man, I couldn't believe it. I did it, and the thing worked. I put a reel on it, tension it up, and it worked. Now, that's why I say, what you don't know, you just don't know. Because I know nothing with regards to repairing these decks. And remember now, these decks are like almost 50 years old now. And you don't have anywhere that you could run out to and take it and say, oh, my deck isn't working, so repair it. We're all on our own. Unless you want to spend mega dollars to get one of these that are refurbished by some company, you can do that. But you're going to spend 10, 20, 30,000, up to 40,000 for one of these guys, refurbish and everything, right? So we, the novice, have to do things by ourselves and get opinions and advice and guidance from people like the guys on taped.net, right? So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going to turn it back on. See, there's tape, tension up the arm, and it triggers the mechanism. It's all digital. This thing is all digital. It's not no mechanical stuff like my PR99 or my A810, B77. It's all where a lot of analog mechanical thing. This is all microprocessor controlled, right? So that's what happened. So the thing spins, right? So I did test it out before. So I'm just gonna show you where I'm at now with this. This thing is so heavy. I mean, Jesus. This thing weighs a ton. It's heavy, man. This is heavy, real heavy. Okay. So here we are now. So the deck, I'm gonna hit play. Okay, so the deck is working. The deck is working, I'm happy to say. Now, one other modification I did to this deck while I was recapping it and in this area, I changed this LED to green. They were all yellow before. This was yellow, I mean red, and all these were all yellow. So I put the play button to be, I put a green LED at the play button, kind of give it a little extra touch there. So I'm so happy, man, that this thing is working, because it reached to a point where I'm like, wow, what next to do, what to do next. If I were to send this out for repair, I'd have to send it to one guy in the mainland, from an expert guy in the taped.net. I trust him before, because I sent some cards one time, some circuit cards one time for him to test for me, and he did a fine job. And it turns out that some were bad and some were good, some of those cards. So the cost to ship this over there, man, is, the cost to ship it over there, ship it back, and then pay him for his time. It's like buying another one, you know what I mean? So we have to just take it for what it is and try to work on it ourselves. Okay, so that's Mesa. Okay, so yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. So the deck is working, and I'm so happy. What can I say? What you don't know, you don't know, right? And I felt like I was way out in, not even left field, but all the way out in center field on this one. Not even in the park, because I had no clue what's going on. Because the manual don't tell you about this. I read it, unless I miss it, but I don't remember seeing it. That you have to tension it up and then press play for the capstan to spin. Like the A810, the Revoxes, as soon as you turn it on, the capstan starts spinning. Even without any tape on it. But this, totally different thing. So, job done. Next, I am going to calibrate this thing, because I change all the capacitors in it, so some things will be off. So I'll be taking my time to go through this and learning the deck as I go. No hurry, so I'm so happy about it, man. Working fine. Yeah, working. Gee. Now I can have a good weekend and watch Liverpool tomorrow morning. Yeah, we will be playing the final, the Champions League final tomorrow, so I'll be up early with a cup of coffee, just waiting for the game. So sorry I couldn't be there in France, right? It's gonna be in France, in Paris, France, I think. So tomorrow, Liverpool. Good luck, Liverpool. I'll be rooting on you. You'll never walk alone. All right, so job done, and I'm so happy about it. It's one of the happiest moments, man, because if you look at eBay, let's say in me poking around back there, I blew something, like blew out the capstan board. If you look at eBay and see what those boards cost, in excess of $300, $400, $500, I've seen them, So this would be a big money to buy these cards. So we just have to cherish it and take my time, read the manual, get pointers from people who know what they know. You know what I mean? So anyway, thanks again, YouTube, and job done, and I'm happy. Yeah.